Some people learn from their mistakes. Others repeat them louder. This is 50 times stupidity met immediate consequences. No delay, no warning, just instant karma. 1. Using a lighter to check fuel levels is natural selection with fireworks. At a small-town gas station in rural Texas, a man was refilling his pickup truck from a red plastic jerry can before heading out for a weekend hunting trip. He couldn't see how much gasoline remained inside, so instead of shaking the container or grabbing his phone flashlight, he flicked a lighter and held it over the opening. The fumes ignited instantly. A violent fireball shot up, singing off his eyebrows and melting the can into a flaming spill that spread under the truck. Nearby customers scattered. Someone knocked over a pump in the chaos. Firefighters arrived to find his vehicle half-charred and the pavement scorched black. He survived. His truck did not. 2. Tailgating an ambulance is a VIP package that comes with police escort. During evening rush hour in downtown Chicago, a frustrated sedan driver decided he was done waiting in traffic. When an ambulance activated its sirens and cut through the jam, he glued himself to its bumper, honking aggressively at other cars to clear his path. He didn't notice the unmarked police cruiser following the same emergency route, capturing everything on dashcam. The moment traffic opened up, red and blue lights flooded his mirrors. He was pulled over within seconds and cited for reckless driving, improper following distance, and interference with an emergency vehicle. The fine exceeded $1,200 and his insurance spiked immediately. The ambulance saved a life. He financed his mistake. 3. Parking in front of a fire hydrant is convenient until firefighters redevelop your interior. In a packed Los Angeles apartment complex, a luxury SUV owner parked directly in a red zone to avoid walking half a block in designer heels. 30 minutes later, a kitcha. 4. Picking a victim without a background check is career suicide. On a busy evening in Rio de Janeiro near Copacabana Beach, a street thief grabbed a woman's smartphone and sprinted into traffic. He expected panic. Instead, he encountered physics and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. The woman happened to be a professional UFC fighter training for an upcoming match. She pivoted, chased him down in heels, and wrapped him in a chokehold so tight he tapped out on the pavement. Bystanders cheered while she calmly waited for police to arrive. Surveillance footage went viral within hours. He was arrested, publicly humiliated, and briefly famous for all the wrong reasons. Poor target selection can shorten your freedom dramatically. 5. Deep frying a frozen turkey is an explosive Thanksgiving tradition. In suburban Florida on Thanksgiving morning, a man decided to deep fry a completely frozen turkey in his garage because the video made it look easy. He lowered the ice-packed bird into 350-degree oil without thawing it. The trapped water flashed into steam instantly, launching a column of burning oil to the ceiling. The fryer tipped, igniting both vehicles parked inside. Flames crawled up drywall within seconds. Neighbors fled as black smoke poured into the street. Firefighters contained the blaze, but the garage collapsed partially before they arrived. Dinner was replaced with insurance claims and a permanently charred driveway. Thermodynamics does not negotiate. 6. Revving your engine at a red light is an expensive confidence test. At a busy intersection in Phoenix, Arizona, a sports car driver decided the minivan next to him needed a lesson in horsepower. He rolled down his window, revved aggressively, and glared like the Fast and Furious casting director was watching. When the light turned green, he floored it. 3 seconds later, there was a loud metallic snap, followed by a cloud of white smoke pouring from under his hood. His transmission detonated mid-launch, scattering fluid across 2 lanes of traffic. The minivan rolled past him at a steady 25 miles per hour, while pedestrians recorded everything. Tow trucks arrived. So did the bill. Ego upgrades are not covered under warranty. 7. Slashing a heavy-duty truck tire is a physics experiment. You will lose. In a dim parking lot outside a construction site in Ohio, a vandal decided to teach someone a lesson by stabbing the tire of a massive dump truck. What he didn't know was that industrial tires are pressurized to extreme levels. The moment his knife pierced the rubber, the compressed air exploded outward with the force of a grenade. The blast threw him backward, shattered his wrist, and tore his shirt to pieces. Nearby security cameras captured the entire sequence in slow motion. The truck remained operational. He left in an ambulance, clutching the arm he just volunteered for demolition. 8. Blocking traffic for a TikTok dance is not a safety plan. In downtown Miami, an influencer set up a ring light in the middle of a busy street to film a trending dance challenge. Cars honked. She waved them off like she owned the asphalt. Mid-spin, a municipal street sweeper truck rounded the corner and continued at full speed. It didn't hit her, but its rotating brushes sprayed a wave of filthy gutter water across her white outfit, equipment, and freshly styled hair. The live stream didn't cut. Her followers watched the entire transformation from glamorous to swamp creature in real time. The city continued operating. Her comment section did not show mercy. 9. Letting a live crab pinch your tongue for views is exactly as stupid as it sounds. During a live stream from a Florida beach, a content creator attempted to prove bravery by placing a live crab in his mouth for shock value. Thousands were watching. The crab clamped down on his tongue instantly and refused to release. He screamed, flailed, and knocked over his camera while blood dripped onto the sand. Friends tried prying it off with a plastic fork before rushing him to the emergency room. Doctors removed the crustacean and stitched his tongue while viewers clipped the footage into viral memes. He gained followers. He also gained permanent scar tissue. 10. Touching a Queen's Guard is a fast track to the pavement. In London, outside Buckingham Palace, a tourist spent 10 full minutes mocking a silent Queen's Guard, waving his arms and poking at the soldier's rifle for social media laughs. The crowd murmured. The guard remained still. Then the line was crossed. The soldier snapped into motion, shouted a warning, and marched directly through the tourist with military precision. The man hit the stone ground flat on his back while his phone skidded across the courtyard. Applause erupted from the crowd. Security escorted him out moments later. Royal discipline does not require audience approval. 11. Rocking a vending machine is a 900-pound gamble you cannot win. At a late-night college dorm in Michigan, a frustrated student tried to free a stuck candy bar by violently shaking a full-size vending machine. Friends encouraged him. He rocked it harder, lifting the front legs off the ground. The machine tipped past the point of return and collapsed forward with its entire steel frame. It pinned him flat against the tile floor, snapping his ankle instantly and cracking the display glass into a spiderweb of shame. Campus police and paramedics arrived to find him trapped beneath 900 pounds of metal for a snack worth $1.50. He left in an ambulance. The candy stayed inside. 12. Trying to shoot yourself to test a bulletproof vest is a terrible quality control method. In a rural backyard in Nevada, a man proudly showed off a bulletproof vest he bought online for a discount price. Convinced it was military grade, he asked a friend to fire a handgun at his chest from a short distance. What he didn't realize was that the vest was a cheap replica designed for airsoft games. The bullet tore straight through the fabric and lodged in his shoulder. He collapsed immediately, bleeding heavily, while his friend panicked and called 911. Surgeons removed the round. The vest did not receive a refund. 13. Skipping a restaurant bill requires remembering your car keys. At a busy steakhouse in Atlanta, a couple decided their $180 dinner was optional. They slipped out during dessert and sprinted toward their car in the parking lot. When they reached it, they realized the keys were still sitting on the table next to their half-finished drinks. By the time they walked back inside pretending confusion, the manager had already reviewed security footage and called local police. Officers were waiting at the entrance. They received citations for theft of services and an embarrassing escort out of the building in front of a full dining room. Dessert was replaced with court dates. 14. Deep snow does not care about your four-wheel drive badge. During a Colorado blizzard, a pickup driver mocked slower vehicles crawling along the highway. He swerved around them, honking and flashing lights as if winter was a suggestion. 5 miles later, he hit black ice at high speed. The truck spun violently, smashed through a guardrail, and nosedived into a frozen ditch. Airbags deployed. Traffic slowed to a stop. The same cautious drivers he had insulted earlier now crept past his crumpled vehicle while he shivered outside, waiting for a tow truck. Four-wheel drive helps you go. It does not help you think. 15. Using a lighter near a gas leak turns a small problem into a fireball. In a suburban garage in North Carolina, a homeowner smelled gasoline after spilling some while refueling his lawnmower. Instead of ventilating the area, he flicked a lighter to see where it was leaking. The fumes ignited instantly, sending a wall of flame across the floor and up the side of his house. The explosion shattered the garage windows and scorched the siding within seconds. Neighbors called 911 as he stumbled outside with minor burns and no eyebrows. Firefighters contained the blaze before it spread to the main structure. The mower survived. His insurance deductible did not. 16. Faking blindness for disability checks requires commitment you probably don't have. In a quiet suburb outside Philadelphia, a man spent years collecting disability benefits after claiming he was completely blind. He attended hearings with dark glasses, used a cane in public, and described total vision loss under oath. Investigators eventually became suspicious and installed surveillance cameras near his home. They captured him driving himself to a fast food drive-thru, reading a menu board without assistance, and later playing tennis at a public court with surprising accuracy. The footage was presented in court alongside his sworn testimony. His benefits were revoked instantly, and he was sentenced to prison for fraud. He lost his fake disability and gained a very real criminal record. 17. Bypassing your electric meter to save money is a high-voltage mistake. In a residential neighborhood in Arizona, a homeowner decided his monthly electricity bill was too high and attempted to reroute his power line around the official meter. He watched a few online tutorials and crossed wires inside his garage late at night. The improvised setup created a massive power surge that fried every appliance in the house within seconds. The refrigerator smoked, the television exploded, and the breaker panel sparked violently. Utility workers traced the tampering almost immediately. He was fined for theft of services and faced thousands in repair costs. He tried to save $20. He spent $10,000. 18. Harassing a stranger while driving requires watching the road. On a crowded Los Angeles street, a man leaned halfway out of his car window to shout inappropriate comments at a woman walking on the sidewalk. He kept yelling, grinning, and gesturing for her attention while traffic crawled forward. So focused on harassment, he failed to notice a delivery van stopped directly ahead. He slammed into it at full speed, crumpling his hood and deploying both airbags instantly. The woman kept walking without looking back. Bystanders recorded the entire collision. Police cited him for distracted driving. His attempt at humiliation ended with a totaled front end and a viral video. 19. Building a balcony swimming pool requires understanding weight distribution. In a second-floor apartment in Miami, a tenant decided to set up a massive inflatable pool on his wooden balcony for a weekend party. He filled it with hundreds of gallons of water, not calculating that water weighs over 8 pounds per gallon. Within minutes, the balcony began to sag. Guests laughed nervously. Then, the wooden support beams cracked loudly, and the entire structure collapsed into the apartment below. Furniture shattered. Drywall exploded. The downstairs neighbor escaped with minor injuries, but the property damage exceeded 6 figures. The party ended in lawsuits and eviction notices. 20. Trying to sue a haunted house for being too scary is peak entitlement. In Ohio, a man filed a lawsuit claiming emotional distress after visiting a commercial haunted house attraction. He argued that actors jumping out at him caused severe psychological trauma and demanded financial compensation. Court records showed he had signed multiple waivers acknowledging the experience would involve sudden scares, loud noises, and simulated violence. The judge dismissed the case in minutes, noting that fear was the entire product being sold. The plaintiff left the courtroom with no payout and a public reputation as the man who sued a zombie for doing its job. 21. Driving into floodwater to prove a point turns your car into an aquarium. During a heavy storm in Houston, a driver ignored multiple flashing barricades and a large "turnaround, don't drown" sign blocking a flooded underpass. Convinced his SUV was waterproof, he accelerated straight into waist-deep water while other cars reversed. Within seconds, the engine stalled, electronics shorted out, and the vehicle began to float slightly before tilting sideways. Water poured in through the doors. He had to climb out the window and swim to dry pavement while first responders watched from a distance. His insurance later denied full coverage due to negligence. The SUV was declared a total loss. Confidence is not a flotation device. 22. Premature celebration is the most expensive way to lose. At a regional track championship in California, a high school sprinter slowed down 10 meters before the finish line, raising both arms to salute the crowd. Cameras flashed. He smiled confidently, already tasting victory. What he didn't see was the runner behind him still sprinting at full speed. In the final 2 strides, his rival passed him cleanly and claimed first place by less than 1/10 of a second. The moment replayed endlessly on sports networks and social media. College scouts who had been watching quietly moved on. He didn't just lose a race, he lost a scholarship opportunity. 23. Attempting DIY dentistry with pliers doubles the pain. In a small-town apartment in Ohio, a man decided to save money by removing his own aching molar after watching a few online tutorials. He tied a string around the tooth, braced himself in front of a bathroom mirror, and pulled hard with pliers. His grip slipped. Instead of removing the infected tooth, he cracked the healthy one beside it clean in half. Blood filled his mouth instantly. He ended up in the emergency room needing 2 extractions, antibiotics, and reconstructive dental work. The original cavity could have been fixed for a few $100s. The hospital bill exceeded $5,000. 24. Challenging a semi-truck to a road fight is not a strategy. On a highway outside Dallas, a frustrated sedan driver brake-checked a semi-truck after feeling cut off. He swerved in front of the massive rig and slammed on his brakes to make a point. The truck driver reacted instantly, but physics has limits. The fully loaded semi crushed the rear of the sedan like an accordion, pushing it nearly 50 feet before stopping. Airbags deployed. Traffic shut down for miles. The sedan was totaled. The truck driver walked away shaken but unharmed. Brake checking something 20 times your weight is not a power move. 25. Knocking down a decorative wall without checking is structural suicide. In a suburban renovation project in Illinois, a homeowner decided to create an open-concept living room by removing what he believed was a non-load-bearing wall. He skipped permits, skipped professional advice, and started swinging a sledgehammer on a Saturday afternoon. 10 minutes after the support beam was removed, the ceiling above began to sag visibly. Within seconds, the second-floor bedroom partially collapsed into the kitchen, sending insulation, drywall, and furniture crashing down. No one was seriously injured, but the house required extensive structural repair. The renovation budget tripled overnight. Architecture does not respond to optimism. 26. Shoplifting with an ink tag turns your apartment into a crime scene. In a suburban mall outside Seattle, a man slipped a designer jacket into his backpack and walked out past security without triggering alarms. Feeling confident at home, he used a screwdriver to pry off the anti-theft ink tag in his living room. The pressure capsule exploded instantly, spraying permanent black dye across the stolen jacket, his white carpet, the sofa, and even the wall behind him. The ink was chemically designed to be impossible to remove. The store traced the jacket's serial code back to him using surveillance footage. He was charged with theft, and his landlord deducted thousands from his deposit for property damage. He didn't just steal a jacket. He permanently redecorated his apartment in evidence. 27. Filing a fake slip-and-fall lawsuit works better without cameras. At a busy grocery store in New Jersey, a man poured bottled water onto the tile floor, threw himself backward dramatically, and screamed in pain. He demanded compensation for a dangerous spill and threatened legal action. What he didn't notice was the bright yellow wet floor sign standing 2 feet behind him and 3 ceiling cameras recording from different angles. Store management calmly reviewed the footage and handed it directly to police. Prosecutors charged him with insurance fraud and filing a false report. Instead of collecting a settlement check, he paid court fees and legal costs. Gravity didn't betray him, surveillance did. 28. Calling 911 to complain about your drug dealer is peak self-sabotage. In a Florida apartment complex, a woman dialed emergency services to report that the illegal substances she had just purchased were low quality and demanded police intervention. Officers arrived expecting chaos. Instead, They found her calmly presenting the product as evidence. Body cameras recorded the entire exchange. The substance tested positive for narcotics on the spot. She was arrested for possession and misuse of emergency services. Her complaint was logged officially, alongside her mugshot. Customer service is not available for felony transactions. 29. Smuggling live animals through airport security requires silence. At a major international airport in California, a traveler attempted to smuggle several live hummingbirds by taping them inside his clothing. Security noticed him behaving erratically in the customs line. The birds began fluttering and chirping beneath his shirt, causing visible movement. Agents conducted a secondary inspection and discovered the taped animals hidden against his torso. He was charged with wildlife trafficking and fined heavily under federal law. The birds were rescued and transferred to wildlife authorities. He missed his flight, his freedom, and any chance of pretending it was just a misunderstanding. 30. Tailgating through a toll booth is a $3 gamble with a $500 ending. On a busy toll road in Pennsylvania, a driver attempted to sneak through the gate behind another vehicle to avoid paying the fee. He accelerated closely, expecting the barrier arm to stay raised. Instead, the mechanical arm dropped at full speed directly onto his windshield. The impact shattered the glass instantly and triggered his airbags. Traffic halted behind him while highway patrol arrived. The repair bill exceeded $500, not including the citation for toll evasion. The toll was $3. Mathematics does not reward impatience. 31. Calling in sick requires digital silence you clearly didn't have. At a mid-sized marketing firm in San Diego, an employee emailed his manager claiming he had a severe flu and needed 2 days off to recover. He described chills, fever, and exhaustion. 3 hours later, he posted Instagram stories from a beachside music festival, chugging drinks and dancing in broad daylight. Coworkers saw it instantly. Screenshots circulated internally before he even returned home. His manager commented publicly, "Hope you feel better soon," then scheduled a meeting the next morning. By noon, he was terminated for dishonesty. The flu disappeared, so did his salary. 32. Screaming at a teen cashier is risky when your boss is behind you. Inside a fast food restaurant in Atlanta, a middle-aged manager from a corporate office began berating a teenage cashier over missing pickles in his sandwich. He raised his voice, insulted the staff, and demanded compensation. What he didn't notice was his own regional director standing quietly in line behind him. Several customers recorded the meltdown. The director stepped forward, identified himself, and informed the man that his behavior violated company policy. He was terminated on the spot. The sandwich was remade. His position was not. 33. Zoom cameras do not automatically turn themselves off. During a quarterly board meeting for a financial consulting firm in New York, a senior executive believed the virtual session had ended and stood up from his desk. He was wearing a blazer and tie on top and cartoon boxer shorts below. His camera was still live. The entire board of directors watched as he walked casually toward his kitchen. Someone attempted to warn him in chat. Too late. Screenshots spread internally within minutes. Though no laws were broken, his credibility took a measurable hit. Professional image takes years to build and seconds to collapse. 34. Downloading free aimbot software is a shortcut to losing everything. A competitive online gamer in Texas decided to install a suspicious program promising automatic aim to dominate his favorite shooter. The software worked, briefly. He won several matches effortlessly and bragged about his skills in voice chat. Within hours, the program executed hidden malware that wiped his hard drive and broadcast his browser history to his entire friends list. His gaming account was permanently banned. Personal files were lost. His online reputation imploded overnight. He tried to cheat the system. The system deleted him. 35. Fake degrees collapse under real background checks. In Chicago, a mid-level executive secured a high-paying job by listing a prestigious university degree he never earned. For years, no one questioned it. When he applied for a promotion requiring expanded credentials, HR initiated a full verification process. The university confirmed he had never enrolled. Internal audits followed. He was terminated immediately for falsifying records and barred from certain professional certifications. News of the dismissal spread through industry circles. One fabricated line on a resume erased a decade of career progress in a single afternoon. 36. Faking a robbery for insurance money requires better acting than you had. In a quiet suburb outside Phoenix, a jewelry store owner reported an armed robbery, claiming masked men stormed in and stole over $200,000 in merchandise. He described dramatic details to local news, even shedding tears on camera. Detectives quickly noticed inconsistencies in the timeline and security footage. No suspects entered or exited during the alleged time frame. Phone records showed he had been inside alone for hours before filing the report. Under interrogation, the story collapsed. He was charged with insurance fraud and filing a false police report. His business license was revoked. The store closed permanently. He didn't lose jewelry to thieves. He lost everything to himself. 37. Testing an electric fence with both hands is a commitment to regret. At a rural zoo in Nebraska, a tourist insisted the electric perimeter fence couldn't be that strong. Ignoring posted warning signs, he grabbed the live wire with both hands to prove it was harmless. The voltage surged through his arms instantly, locking his muscles and throwing him backward into a muddy animal enclosure. His expensive suit was destroyed. His pride followed shortly after. Paramedics treated him for burns and shock, while onlookers replayed the footage. The fence functioned exactly as advertised. He did not. 38. DIY. Gasoline cleanup with a vacuum turns appliances into explosives. In a Michigan garage, a homeowner spilled gasoline while refueling a snowblower and decided to clean it with a household vacuum instead of rags. He forgot that electric motors generate sparks. As soon as the vacuum switched on, fumes ignited. The machine exploded violently, sending flames across the garage floor and igniting nearby storage bins. The blast shattered windows and scorched siding before neighbors called emergency services. Fire crews contained the blaze, but structural repairs exceeded $40,000. He attempted to clean a spill. He nearly erased his house. 39. Road rage against a semi-truck ends in physics, not victory. On an interstate outside Dallas, a sedan driver repeatedly cut off a fully loaded semi-truck, brake-checking it to assert dominance. The truck driver attempted to maintain distance, but at highway speeds, mass matters. When the sedan slammed its brakes again, the semi could not stop in time. The impact crushed the smaller vehicle's rear end completely and sent debris across 3 lanes. The driver survived but required hospitalization. His car was totaled. The truck sustained minor damage. Picking a fight with 40 tons rarely ends well. 40. Attempting a backflip at 45 is a high-risk nostalgia trip. At a backyard birthday party in suburban Ohio, a father decided to prove he still had it by attempting a backflip on a trampoline in front of his kids and neighbors. He misjudged the rotation, landed awkwardly on his neck, and bounced sideways into a decorative stone garden border. The impact fractured his collarbone and dislocated his shoulder. The party ended early as paramedics loaded him into an ambulance. He wanted applause. He received orthopedic surgery instead. 41. Building a backyard fire pit under a wooden deck is structural arson. In a suburban neighborhood outside Denver, a homeowner decided to install a large propane fire pit directly beneath his elevated wooden deck for aesthetic, cozy vibes. During a weekend gathering, the flames grew higher than expected, heating the underside of the untreated wood above. Within minutes, the deck ignited from below, spreading rapidly into the exterior wall of the house. Guests scrambled as flames climbed toward the roofline. Fire crews extinguished the blaze before it reached neighboring properties, but the damage exceeded $180,000. Insurance investigators later determined the installation violated local fire codes, drastically limiting coverage. He wanted ambiance. He received a reconstruction loan. 42. Filing a fake hate crime for attention guarantees federal charges. In a Midwestern college town, a student reported a staged attack on her own property, claiming unknown perpetrators left threatening messages. The incident sparked protests, media coverage, and administrative investigations. Police eventually analyzed surveillance footage and discovered she had written the messages herself during early morning hours. Phone metadata and ink analysis confirmed the deception. Federal charges followed for filing a false report and obstruction. She lost her academic standing and future scholarship opportunities. The viral sympathy lasted days. The criminal record will last decades. 43. Using a company credit card for personal luxury leaves a paper trail. At a growing tech startup in Boston, a finance director quietly used the corporate credit card to fund personal vacations, high-end restaurants, and designer purchases, assuming small charges would go unnoticed. During an annual audit, discrepancies surfaced instantly. Transaction histories, location data, and merchant codes aligned too perfectly with his travel schedule. He was terminated immediately and charged with embezzlement. Investors were notified. Industry contacts learned quickly. He had built a promising career in financial management. He destroyed it with itemized receipts. 44. Live streaming a crime is the fastest way to identify yourself. In Los Angeles, a group of teenagers decided to vandalize a parked luxury vehicle for online attention, broadcasting the entire act on social media. They spray-painted the hood, smashed mirrors, and laughed into the camera, never considering that live streams save metadata. Viewers captured screen recordings. Within 48 hours, detectives traced IP addresses and geolocation tags directly to one participant's home. All involved were charged with felony vandalism. The damaged car was repaired. Their college applications now include a criminal history disclosure. 45. Setting off illegal fireworks in a dry forest is a felony, with flames. During a summer heat wave in Northern California, a man ignored statewide fire restrictions and launched commercial-grade fireworks in a wooded recreational area. One misfired shell landed in dry brush and ignited instantly. Winds spread the flames across several acres before containment crews arrived. Multiple properties were damaged and evacuation orders were issued overnight. Investigators traced the launch site using drone footage and witness recordings. He was arrested and charged with reckless endangerment and arson-related offenses. The fireworks lasted seconds. The legal consequences will not. 46. Attempting an insurance arson for quick cash turns into a felony with federal interest. In a struggling industrial district outside Detroit, a warehouse owner facing bankruptcy decided to stage a late-night electrical fire to collect insurance money. He poured accelerant along shelving units and set a small blaze, expecting limited damage. What he failed to anticipate was how quickly flames would spread through stored chemicals and packaging materials. The fire escalated into a full structural collapse within an hour, sending thick smoke across neighboring properties and forcing evacuations. Fire investigators identified irregular burn patterns and traced fuel residue back to the owner's purchase history. He was arrested for arson and insurance fraud. The building was gone. So was his freedom. 47. Ignoring a hurricane evacuation order is not a political statement. It's a rescue invoice. During a Category 4 hurricane approaching the Gulf Coast, a homeowner publicly declared on social media that the storm was media hype and refused to evacuate his low-lying property. News crews even interviewed him as he stood confidently in his driveway. Hours later, storm surge flooded the neighborhood up to the rooftops. Emergency services risked their lives navigating debris-filled water to extract him from his attic window. The rescue was broadcast nationally. He survived. His house did not. FEMA assistance was limited due to ignored evacuation warnings. Defiance looked brave at noon. It looked desperate by midnight. 48. Brake checking at highway speeds is a physics experiment with no winners. On a crowded interstate outside Atlanta, a driver cut off another vehicle and repeatedly slammed on his brakes to intimidate the car behind him. Traffic was moving at over 70 miles per hour. The following driver had no space to react. The resulting collision triggered a multi-car pileup involving 6 vehicles. Emergency responders closed the highway for hours. 2 drivers required hospitalization, and thousands in damages were recorded. Dashcam footage clearly showed who initiated the chain reaction. He wasn't just cited for reckless driving, he faced civil lawsuits from multiple injured parties. Ego can be expensive. At highway speeds, it can also be catastrophic. 49. Faking a kidnapping for attention guarantees national embarrassment. In a Northern California community, a woman disappeared while jogging, triggering a massive multi-agency search operation. Weeks later, she reappeared claiming abduction and abuse. The story gained national sympathy and media coverage. investigators quietly analyzed phone data and DNA evidence, discovering she had been staying voluntarily with an ex-boyfriend. Surveillance records contradicted her statements entirely. She was charged with filing a false report and ordered to repay significant investigation costs. Public support evaporated instantly. The search effort involved hundreds of personnel. The truth required one lab test. 50. Launching illegal fireworks during a drought is how you become the headline. In a heavily forested region of Northern California during peak wildfire season, a man ignored statewide fire bans and launched large commercial fireworks from a hillside clearing. One misfired shell landed in dry brush, igniting instantly. High winds carried flames across multiple acres within minutes, threatening homes and forcing emergency evacuations overnight. Fire suppression costs quickly climbed into the millions. Drone footage and eyewitness recordings identified the launch point. He was arrested and charged with reckless endangerment and felony arson-related offenses. The fireworks lasted less than a minute. The criminal case will last years. Some people call it karma. Some people call it bad luck. But most of the time, it's just cause and effect showing up on schedule. Every single person on this list thought they had a moment, a shortcut, a clever idea, a way around the rules. And every single one of them forgot something very simple. Physics does not negotiate. Cameras do not blink. The internet does not forget. And consequences do not need permission. The funny part isn't that they failed. It's how confident they were 5 seconds before everything collapsed. So if you've ever said, "That won't happen to me," just remember, every clip you watched tonight started with that exact sentence. Like the video if you've ever tested gravity and lost. Comment the dumbest risk you've ever taken. And subscribe, because somewhere out there, someone is about to press record, right before reality presses back.